Hi, hello and welcome back to F1 Challenge VB. My name is Mephisto and our journey through the history of Formula 1 continues today with the 5th round of the 1960 season, the Belgian Grand Prix. It was held on the 19th of June, it had 19 entries, 17 of them took part in the race with 11 of them retiring. The race consisted of 36 laps completed in 2 hours, 21 minutes and 37 seconds. Brabham started the race from pole with Brooks in 2nd, Moss in 3rd, Phil Hill 4th, Gendebien 5th and Graham Hill started from 6th. Brabham drove a superb race to take the win at the Belgian Grand Prix. Bruce McLaren finished in 2nd, 1 minute 3.3 seconds behind. Gendebien finished in 3rd, he was 1 lap down. Phil Hill crossed the line in 4th, he was also 1 lap down. Jim Clark ended the race in 5th, he was 2 laps down. And rounding off the top 5 was Lucien Bianchi, he was 8 laps adrift. The fastest lap was shared by Brabham, Ireland and Phil Hill. The time they posted was 3 minutes 51.9 seconds. We return to the beautiful Ardennes Mountains for the spectacular Belgian Grand Prix, where a lap starts off with a short run down the hill, then up through Eau Rouge, a very tricky corner in real life. However, here it's just a walk in the park. We then come through Le Combe, a medium speed left-hander. There is a bit of a camber in the road surface, so make full use of that. After a very long right-hander, we come into Malmedy, a left-right chicane. Be super careful coming through here as the track drops away from you as you come through the right-hander. This brings us onto the Masta Straight, the longest straight on the track, which ends with the Masta Kink, a high-speed left-right chicane. Next up is Tavolo, a long right-hander. Start by going wide, then swoop back in as you approach the bridge. Eventually we come into Blanchimont, a high-speed left-hander. Careful through here as you might need to lift. And finally we come into Les Sources, a tight right-hand hairpin. Brake hard just before the billboards, then turn in and be careful not to use too much power coming out of the corner. But that brings us around onto the main straight, and that is a lap around the Spa Francorchamps circuit. And here we are in qualifying for the Belgian Grand Prix, coming around to set our first qualifying lap, a 3:54.6. Not a very good qualifying lap, about 10 seconds slower than Graham Hill. Hopefully we'll be able to make up some of the lost time. However, not by much. That was a 3:52.5, and after this I kind of stopped. Because I felt that there was no way I could get another 8 seconds out of my time, so that is that. Anyway, here are the previous Belgian Grand Prix winners. We won quite a few times. The last time was in 1953, so hopefully this is going to be again our year. Anyway, here is the grid lineup. We have Jack Brabham on pole with Sterling Moss in 2nd, Richie Ginter 3rd, 4th is Graham Hill, followed by Joe Bonnier in 5th, with Maurice Trintignant rounding off the top 6. Phil Hill is in 7th, followed by Bruce McLaren in 8th, Cliff Ellison is in 9th, followed by Olivier Gendebien in 10th. Innes Ireland is 11th, followed by Von Trips in 12th. 13th is John Surtees, and Ronald Flockhart is in 14th. Andy Higgs qualified in 15th, followed by Jim Clark in 16th, not Jack. Ooh, and there's Thunder. Tony Brooks 17th, 18th Lucien Bianchi, 19th Henry Taylor, Willie Maries 20th, and bringing up the rear we have Chuck Day in 21st and Dan Gurney down in 22nd. So that is the grid lineup, and yes, you heard thunder, and it is actually raining, so we should be quite careful as we are now off to a pretty rocky start, as I'm not sure who, but someone did crash into me. I believe it was Tony Brooks, who is right in front of us now. We lost quite a few positions actually. We're down in 21st as we come up through Eau Rouge. Behind us is Chuck Day. Right in front of us is Henry Taylor, who is challenging his teammate and might even overtake him, who knows. But that was a pretty clean drive through Eau Rouge. Not generally, we've seen at least 1 or 2 people kind of losing control through there, but not this time. And here is a replay of that start. Again, because of the Aston Martin is slow, it accelerates so slowly, I lost a bunch of positions off the start, so there was not much I could have done about that, unfortunately. But eventually I catch up to Tony Brooks and I pass him for 20th. Next, hopefully we'll be able to also overtake Lucien Bianchi. That would be very, very helpful. And indeed, a few seconds later, I do catch up to Lucien Bianchi, and we now move up into 19th. Next should be Henry Taylor if we can catch up to him. He is at the moment about 2.5 seconds up the road. And then as we come around to start lap 2, Bruce McLaren has retired, so we have our first person out of the race. And here is Bruce McLaren coming into the pits after just before even finishing his first lap. He pulls into his pit box and he retires. Apparently he had a gearbox problem. As we now come around to start lap 3, and there were a bunch of cars in the pits, not entirely sure why. Maybe the weather's changing. I'm guessing they don't have to go in for fuel because fuel consumption is set to normal. Anyway, here is a replay of Joe Bonnier coming into the pits. He gets lifted up on the jack as a bunch of other cars come into the pits, and then I'm not quite sure what Joe Bonnier is up to here, but that's not where the track is, and he retires eventually. We now come around to start lap 4, and Cliff Ellison has caught up to us, and we dropped to 13th. He was in the pits at the end of last lap, so he caught up to us in just a lap. A little bit later on lap 4, Ron Flockhart catches up to us and overtakes us. Actually, it's actually the end of lap 4 as we come into La Source here, and I'm trying to keep on the inside to keep Jim Clark behind us, but he brilliantly overtakes us on the outside. That was quite a nice move from him. I'm not even mad about that. Later on lap 5, we overtake Henry Taylor, who seemed to have had some sort of a problem. He was pretty much stationary on the side of the road there, but hopefully he'll be okay. It looks like he's back to speed though, so he is obviously okay. Now lap 5 here, and Maurice Trintignant just overtakes us as we come into the Mazda King. Right behind us is Willie Mayrese, and he's also looking at an opportunity to overtake us. I'm not as fast as him, so I have to pretty much concede the position, and we drop back down to 16th after just 2 laps after everyone pitted. And we're just about to start lap 7 here, and people are once again in the pits, and at this point I kind of felt bad for the AI, so I decided that at the end of this lap I will pit myself as well. As we now come around to the finish lap 7, I kind of messed my line through La Source there, and that allows Cliff Ellison to overtake us, although that doesn't change too much because, well, we are actually coming into the pits to eliminate any advantage we might have had from not coming into the pits, although the AI was doing a pretty good job of overtaking catching up to us anyway. So yeah, and one thing I would like to have is proper pits for the period. This is way too fast for 1960. Pits during this period should take about 1 minute, even more probably, but anyway, we are back in the race. We are down in 15th as Graham Hill retires from the race, not entirely sure why. We are now on lap 9, chasing after Olivier Gendebien, who is 2.5 seconds up the road. I'm not quite sure who is behind us. It's Ronald Flockhart. He's 8.5 seconds behind us. And here is Graham Hill coming into the pits. Apparently he has a gearbox problem, so, well, not a lot of reason to race if you cannot shift through gears. And here we are towards the end of lap 9, coming around to overtake Gendebien quite nicely, coming out of that left-hander as we now come into the Source. Hopefully we can keep him behind us, but no, Gendebien manages to make a pretty decent move on the outside there, and he keeps the position. Then on lap 10, as we come through Stavelo, I catch back up to Ronald to Gendebien, but Flockhart manages to catch up to both of us. He overtakes me. He's now looking at a maneuver on Gendebien. He makes the move that kind of gives him an opportunity to attack as well. And can we do it? Yes, we do. We move up into 14th, and we are now chasing after Ronald Flockhart, who is unfortunately pulling away, so I don't think we'll be able to catch him. But that was a very, very nice move. Double overtake for Ronald Flockhart as we now move on to lap 12, chasing after Ronald Flockhart, who has pulled away from us significantly. He is almost 11 seconds up the road. And here is a replay of Phil Hill coming around to set the fastest lap of the race, a 3 minute 44 point something. I'm not quite sure, but what I am sure of is that this is a new track record by about 2 or 3 seconds. And here we are coming around to end lap 12 to end the race, and that was Ron Flockhart, who had retired. We saw a wheel of him, and here's a replay. He comes into La Source. He loses his brakes. Something happened to his brakes. He crashed into the hay bales, lost his front wheel, lost his nose cone, and that is the end of his race, just a few meters from the finish line. So that should be quite disappointing for him. But we move up into 13th, and here are the race results. Ginther wins, Phil Hill second, Moss third, Von Trips for 5th, Ireland Brabham first. Phil Hill managed to post the fastest lap, and indeed it was a 3:44.4. And here are the retirements: Graham Hill Bonnier and Bruce McLaren. Well, Flockhart also retired obviously, but he did manage to complete 90% of race distance, so that is that. Well, that was the Belgian Grand Prix, a good race for pretty much everyone except Andy, who is struggling quite a bit this season. He did pretty well in Argentina, he did very well in Monaco, and has struggled since, so it looks like this is going to be a very, very tough season for Andy. But anyway, here are the career statistics, and this was Andy's 90th Grand Prix. His best start is from first, has 5 pole positions, has set 15 fastest laps. His best finishes in first, has completed 64 races, 55 of them in the points, has won 33 Grand Prix, 4 at the Indianapolis 500, 6 in Monaco, has 7 championships under his belt, has scored a total of 370 points, has retired 25 times, has experienced 2,119 out of 2,527 laps, has 6 bronze trophies, 9 silver trophies, 33 gold trophies, and as an extension, 33 podiums. And here is a quick look at the championship standings. Richie Ginther takes the lead of the championship with Sterling Moss in second. Andy Higgs, Phil Hill, and Wolfgang von Trips are fighting for third. Bruce McLaren is in 6th. The last person to have scored points is Willie Mae Rees down in 16th, and Lucien Bianchi is all the way at the bottom of the standings. And you might have noticed that some of the drivers have an R next to their finishing position for a given race, and this was a suggestion given once again by Scandinavian. He basically suggested that I should put an R next to their finishing position to indicate that even though they finished, they still did retire in the end. So that's what that stands for. Anyway, let's move on to the constructors next. Ferrari are continuing their lead. Rob Walker team moves up into second. Aston Martin drops down into third. Cooper are fourth. Fifth are Team Lotus, and Yoman Credit Racing and Owen Racing Organization are fighting for 6th. So that was the Belgian Grand Prix. Quite a good race. I think one of the best races in terms of people finishing, which is quite nice to see. This overall is turning out to be a pretty decent season finally, with more than just a handful of people finishing each race. So that's very, very nice. And it looks like Andy is in fact struggling quite a bit. Something he should do. I mean, Aston Martin wasn't a very good team, wasn't a very good car, so he should be struggling after all. Anyway, our next race is the French Grand Prix at Reims. I'm looking forward to that. That should be a bit better for us. Not a lot of corners. Although it looks like I'm lacking top speed as well, so that might not be a very good race for us either. But anyway, that is the end of the Belgian Grand Prix, the end of this video. Don't forget to vote for next season's team, link is in the description. I also have a second channel where I will be playing all sorts of different games. At the moment I'm doing a playthrough of Diablo 2 and IL-2 Sturmovik 1946, so if you're interested in any of those, there will be a link in the description to that as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, stay sharp. Hi, hello and welcome back to F1 Challenge VB. My name is Mephisto, yeah. My name, Mephisto is, yeah. My name, Mephisto is, yeah. That is grammatically incorrect, and I do not care because I sing about it. Yeah. Oh yeah.